What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to talk about what's going on with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm also going to break down what's going on with next week as we have the FOMC meeting to be discussing and other things like that. But before I break into detail all this information, before I give you guys a quick recap about what's going on with the markets, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very, very soon. Anyways, when it comes to the market, we saw something very interesting. SPY closed below 510, and this thing is starting a downtrend right now. We've been establishing one. We got nice confirmation of this thus far. This suggests that SPY could rebound a little bit, but it's going to likely see more downside coming as we approach some big events. So I'm going to talk about the week first, then do a little recap about what happened. Then I'm going to talk about what the trend is suggesting on SPY. So what's happening with the week? Okay, so for next week, we basically have very minor data on Monday. Not much coming out for Tuesday, just some like housing data. But then for Wednesday, things get real because Wednesday is going to be massive. March 20th, next week, we have the FOMC meeting. We have Jerome Powell giving a very important speech, and the Fed is going to be giving their economic projections report. This is going to be very, very important. What the Fed tells us, it's going to be very important. We're also going to get the interest rate projections. So if the Fed is more hawkish and they're not really kind of like anticipating as many cuts as before, this is going to be a bearish catalyst for the stock market. If the Fed still maintains their current stance of giving us like 75 basis points worth of cuts this year, or maybe like 50 to 75, we're going to be completely fine. But I just want to note that whatever Jerome Powell says could affect the markets, considering that CPI did go up a bit and PPI also went up a bit. Jerome Powell might not be the most friendly person on Wednesday. So I just wanted to note that. Be careful, guys. Something big is likely in the works. For Thursday, we don't really have much coming out for Thursday and Friday, just the typical data. A bunch of Fed speakers on Friday. So the main day for tomorrow is not tomorrow, for next week is going to be Wednesday, March 20th. Watch and see what happens then. For earnings, it's all very, very minor. We just have like Xpeng on Tuesday. I see a couple of names in there like General Mills, Chewy, not really much. Then we have like just like Nike and FedEx on Thursday. There's not really much happening for earnings, so I might not talk as much about this from now on. I will talk about a couple of them, such as Nike, FedEx, and like Chewy. I will talk about a couple of them, but for the most part, I'm going to kind of transition away from this earnings part. Let's now talk about the option chain for SPY. So going into the upcoming trading weeks, I just want to note that there's not really a whole lot that is being revealed right now for next week, but I do see for right now something very interesting happened. So on the call side, about 95,000 calls ended up in the money, and 531,000 ended up out of the money. The majority of options ended up out of the money, right? Look at the put side, 174,000 in the money, 4 million out of the money. It's a 6.79 put to call ratio. So intraday, so while the trading day was going on, the options chain kind of changed a lot. A lot of calls were being closed, and a lot of these puts just maintained. A lot of people maintained their put positions, and what happened was the market makers came up with a very, very interesting idea. Let me show you. This is why the market just traded sideways. So this is what the market makers were thinking. Instead of favoring puts, instead of favoring calls, they favored nobody. All they did was this. They realized they need to get SPY to close maybe just under 510, somewhere around there. They could have gotten this back up to max pain all the way up to 514. That could have been fine for them, but it didn't really matter much because what happened was SPY started this sell off, sold off more, and then it just traded sideways for basically half the day, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth around the 510 area. I want to see the least close above 510 for there to be some like potential, but if anything, we're actually below 510, so now we're looking a lot weaker. And on top of this, it was just very boring. So this just hurts the premium holders. Their goal was just to hurt all these people who are holding options. And this is why the majority of them ended up out of the money. This means the market makers were on the opposite end of that. They're the ones that had the big edge, if anything. So the market makers won big time. They caused a lot of pain for people, and it worked in their benefits. So now the question is, what on earth are the charts suggesting? It's very simple, guys. SPY officially has a downtrend. We could say this with high certainty so far, especially as we're approaching the FOMC meeting. I think that it could rebound a little bit, retest this trend line right here, but it's going to likely reject. And because we essentially, we didn't get like a clean bounce from this support at this 508.5 area, The last time we hit this, we got a big bounce on SPY. This time it kind of pushed a little bit, came back down. So it might pop a little bit and then make its way down lower. There is a risk of SPY dropping to lower levels. 507 is a real possibility, so just be careful. But as you can see, there's a downtrend that's being established for the short term, at least approaching the FOMC meeting. SPY is looking weaker. It's going to rebound a bit, but it might reject, establish a lower high, and continue to fall. I will go into more details about levels in my later videos, but for now, I just want to let you guys know this. For the QQQ, it's the same thing. So the problem with the QQQ is we lost support at 434. Instead of getting a bounce, this thing actually failed. So now it's downtrending. We have this channel right here. It could attempt to get back into this channel, but overall it's still on a downtrend. So look for an attempt to get back up here, then a fail. If we close below the channel again, this is going to be confirmation of more downside. The QQQ is looking weaker. And by the way, for SPY, let me go back 1 second. Let me show you the daily chart before I transition away. The daily, it's just barely holding the 20 EMA. So if it kind of rebounds a bit, if we lose 508, if we kind of like pop and then drop and lose 508, we could see a bigger move to the downside. Don't forget, we have a big gap all the way down to 497. So we'll see if Jerome Powell helps the market get one more pump to the upside, or if Jerome Powell and the FOMC meeting leads to a big sell off. We have this big gap below. So be careful, guys. SPY is in a risky position. Right on the daily for the QQQ, it's the same thing essentially. The daily, in my opinion, is looking relatively weak. I think the 4 hour is showing something different that we're going to likely test 430 soon. So I see 430 coming to the QQQ may pop first and drop. And additionally, on the daily time frame, I'm also seeing this potentially coming down. So if we lose 430, 430-ish, I do see 427, this gap fill on the QQQ. So there's a risk of more downside. And it's going to most likely fill this gap soon. So be careful. This is going to be bearish for the overall market. All right. So I just wanted to warn you guys about that. How about Nvidia? Nvidia is trying to uptrend slowly, but it's not looking that great. So we had this big drop from the falling wedge. We're trying to bounce, but it's not holding up as well as it could have been. It's on this very, very tight channel. To be bullish, you want to see it just maintain this upwards momentum, try to get back above 900. If you're bearish, you want to see it basically kind of pop and then fail. If it fails to hold this trend line right here, it's going to start sinking all the way down, back down to 862. So Nvidia is not looking as convincing to me, but it is on a slight uptrend. So we'll see if we can try to hold these levels. But there is a risk of it coming back down because of how things are looking so far with the overall market. I'm going to talk about Tesla right after this. But one issue with Aapl, okay? Aapl had the cup and handle setup, but it failed this morning. It failed to get a clean break above 174. It touched it, tried to break out, and it failed again, just like it did the last 7, 8 times it tested 174. So because Aapl failed, it got a huge rejection back down to about 170 flat. It dropped 4 points, came back up to 172.5. Might pop a little higher than come back down. I just think that it's continuing to just be range bound, not getting much of a break from here. It needs a bullish catalyst to break past 174. We don't have it yet. And technicals just show it's very stationary, but there is a risk of it getting a rejection back down. So not looking the strongest. Most tickers are not looking that great, but I do have one exception for the market, and that is Tesla. Tesla is looking decent right now. It looks like it may try to start outperforming the market temporarily, because the problem with Tesla was this thing was getting bad news every single day last week, or this week, technically speaking. This week, it was just bad news for Tesla day in and day out, and this thing sold off almost every single day. Every day was just bad news after bad news. Tesla was at 182, right? I think it was on Monday. 182 is where Tesla was at. We went all the way down to 160, dropped over 20 points. It's a pretty big drop for Tesla. That's a billions and billions of dollars, tens of billions leaving the share price. Absolutely insane in terms of valuation. So we're starting to turn on the 4 hour. If we could get a follow through move and a break of 165, I could see 168 and 170 coming. But we have to get that bounce. We need to try to outperform the market. Tesla needs a bullish catalyst. In terms of technicals, as long as there's no major bad news, this does look like it might try to bounce because we have a nice double bottom like formation and a break attempt from this falling wedge. So if we break 165 on Tesla, I could see 168 and then 170 most likely coming. But we have to get that break, and we need a bullish catalyst most likely. We can't get bad news. We keep getting bad news, which causes Tesla to fall. If we get bad news, it's going to sink all the way down to 158 most likely if we lose 162 and 160. But in my opinion, the technicals do favor the upside. It does look more probable Tesla's going to try to break. So I'm going to be watching this next week. Can Tesla get that breakout? Anyways, that is it for the video. I'm not going to go into the full details. Just as a reminder, I'm going to make 2 videos tomorrow. One should be just about trading because I love to give those trading lesson videos. I know people like those. Another one's going to be about something else about the stock market. I want to give you guys another warning about it. I'm not going to go into as many details from here on out until Sunday. So look out on Sunday. I will have more videos on Saturday, but they're not going to be as meticulous. But on Sunday, I'm going to give you guys a very, very good video. I'm going to break everything down. I like to give the market some time because there's a lot of news that could come out over the weekend. So I just want to wait and wait until Sunday. And when Sunday comes, I'll be announcing some very important things. I'll be breaking down the charts in a lot more detail and give you guys a much better analysis. So be on the lookout for my videos for tomorrow for more information about the overall trends in the market and then more trading advice. And then for Sunday, I'll be back with a much more in-depth video about all the different tickers from Super Micro, AMD, Microsoft, Amazon, SPY, Tesla, QQQ, everything like that on Sunday. All right. So thank you for listening. Have a great day, guys. Get ready for next week. It's going to be a big week, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you and peace out.